So my name is Owen Malingu, and I take this opportunity to welcome all of you for this workshop, the Africa Health Law Workshop on legal writing, research, publishing in health and human rights. And today I'll be serving in the capacity of the moderator, and I hope all goes well. And for clarity, I think, is it afternoon or evening? Because I think the confusion is just getting greater. Is it afternoon? Yeah, afternoon. So let's consider it as afternoon. For the next program, let me take this opportunity to invite Dr. Shirley Njenga. Is it Njenga? I think Genga. Sorry, Dr. Shirley A. Genga, who is a human rights researcher, a member of the Media Council of Kenya, a peer reviewer at the Kenya Law Reports, and how we know her as a lecturer at JKUAT Karen campus. So she gained her LLB undergraduate degree at the University of Nairobi, her LLM at the University of Nairobi, and her PhD at the University of Witwatersrand in South Africa. So let's put our hands together to welcome Dr. Shirley so that she can speak on abstracts. Thank you, and welcome, Dr.
Hello, everybody. I can see many faces of people who look very familiar to me today. There are, of course, students who I have not seen, but I think a couple of students have passed through my classes, and it's such a pleasure to always come before people who you know, and also to meet new people. Today, I will be touching on what you need to know about when it comes to drafting a title for a human rights research paper and an abstract for a human rights research paper. I'm aware and conscious of time, the time limitation, so I'll try and make my presentation as short and as effective as possible. And I have passed my presentation around. I hope everyone has access to it. Please have a look at Dropbox. So before I begin the presentation and start looking at what a title is or what an abstract is, just for clarification, and my colleague here, Faith, is going to go more into depth about what the right to health is. But maybe just from me, what you can know is that the right encompasses the highest attainable standard of both physical and mental health. Now, part of what we are looking at when we are looking at your at the essays that you are done around the Ogiek community and the right of health was whether you are able to capture the fact that health was not just about physical health. You also needed to capture that the right to health also encompasses mental health. So you really need to recognize that. And this right of health, even just going through the many theses that I had a chance to look at, not the thesis, sorry, the essays that I had a chance to look at, you all were able to recognize the different conventions where the right to health is mentioned. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights and International Convention on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. But something I noticed about your essays is none of you, I think there was no student who was able to connect how these international conventions apply to Kenya. It's very important when you're doing this kind of research that you note that they apply to Kenya because of Article 2.6 of the Kenyan Constitution. The treaties, conventions apply to Kenya directly because of this article. And whenever you're doing a research paper that touches on human rights, you have to make sure that this point comes out clearly. You have to know that your reader can be someone who is a Kenyan and knows the Constitution, or someone who might not understand, because they are states which the right to, the different conventions don't apply directly. But in Kenya, because of Article 2.6, it does apply directly. It becomes part of our law. So that was just something I noted when I was looking at your thesis. Now, why is it important to research the right of health? It is important to help us, or any human rights. Why do we even bother researching human rights? We research on human rights for a number of reasons. Number one, to identify violations of those rights. It's very important. To advocate for policy changes, because a lot of times you'll see that even if the convention is there are certain changes that need to be made to ensure that these rights are enforced. Thirdly, we need to improve health when it comes to especially researching on the right to health. We need to research on this to improve the health outcomes for marginalized communities. And for this group in particular, your essay touched on indigenous groups who a lot of times are marginalized communities. And that is why doing research on health rights is important. So when you are doing research and it comes to determining what kind of article you're going to draft, it is very important, especially if you're doing legal research, that your title has a legal element to it. You cannot do a legal research paper and your paper doesn't have any legal, there's nothing legal. You're doing a legal research and your topic is a social topic. And what is a legal topic? A legal topic is a topic that touches on a legal issue, that touches on the law. It can be an issue around interpretation. It can be around a conflict around interpreting the law, a solution that can be found to the law. But every time you're drafting a legal question, it must be attached to a legal issue. It can have a social element to it, but if it doesn't have a legal question, then it is not a legal research. And oftentimes you'll find that when you're dealing with a legal question, a legal topic, the solutions is often found in the law. Even if you're providing recommendations, the recommendations will be that certain changes need to be made in the law. And even if the research may include that people are not enforcing it because of particular cultural beliefs, the end result will always be to enforce the law in a particular way. So it must be around a legal issue. Then it is a legal question. And then when we go to, a topic, the topic of a research must be clear and specific. I must not look at your topic and I cannot understand what it is you're researching. So you have to make sure that your topic is very clear and concise. And a lot of times before you come up with a topic, it's always good to do some background research. Don't just get a topic from the back of your mind. Also see what have people researched around those same topics that you want to research alongside. And then when you're also looking at your title, you have to ensure that keywords are also included in your topic. For example, in this, with regard to the essay, I noticed that a lot of students didn't have a title. Key words for this title could have included indigenous communities. Another keyword could have been the right to health. Now you have to include keywords in your title. And then you also have to highlight a human rights aspect, because even the purpose of this workshop is a human rights workshop. We later on look at what a human rights issue is, but you also need to include a human rights aspect to your title. And then you also have to consider your audience. If you're writing to an audience that is academics, there's a way that you will write. You can even use technical language. But if you're writing to an audience which is made up of people who might not even understand legalese, you have to take those into consideration. How you might write for a journal might not be the same way you might write for an opinion piece in the newspaper. It might not be the same way you might write for a magazine, or the way the heading will be phrased. So whatever title you take must be cognizant of the audience that you're writing for. And then number 4, your heading needs to be engaging and informative. When there are some titles, when you see them, you get excited. There are some titles, you see them, and you don't even understand. You cannot even feel any inspiration to go through the research that someone has done. And in the PowerPoint that I've sent 2 examples of 2 headings. And I want you to tell you which one of those 2 headings is more engaging and which one is more informative, and which one is not. I don't know if you have access to that.
Yes, on the link that I shared in Dropbox, but I don't know if you have seen it.
It's on slide 7. I don't know.
Is it possible to show slide 7?
Yeah, slide 7, yeah. It's on slide 7. Just look at the heading, which has the slides. That's slide 2.
It's slide 4.
Okay, slide 4, but it's written 7, yeah?
How do international human rights?
No. It's which title is more engaging. Go to slide, go down to the heading written slide 7. Oh, no. Do I have 2 slide 7s? Oh no, the first slide 7. Okay. So the first one, there are 2 slide 7s. The first slide 7. I'm sorry about that. I think there was a bit of a mix-up. So the first one is achieving universal health care in Kenya, overcoming barriers to access and equity. The second heading is talking about the same topic, healthcare statistic in the region in Kenya, a comparative analysis. Which one seems more informative or more interesting? Which one is more engaging, the first one or the second one? The first one, yeah? So you have to be cognizant of the fact when you're drafting your title. It has to be engaging and it has to be informative. So that when someone looks at your research, they want to read what you have to say, yeah?
And this applies also for when you're doing your abstract and your post for social media, the title. That's what she's emphasizing on that.
And then you have to, the heading should reflect the legal argument. What is your legal argument? Is there a theoretical framework that you're introducing? What are you researching on? So there needs to be some element of a legal argument in your heading. And then lastly and most important is you need to consider the length of your title. Your title cannot be 3 lines.
I have told you not more than, what is the rule?
The rule, I think just be like realistic and use the common man when you're looking at and you're deciding, is it too long or too short? At least I think maybe 2 lines, not more than 2 lines, when you're drafting your heading. And then, so we've done what is a legal question, what is a legal heading. But now what is a legal heading that has a human rights question? Now, when you're doing a human rights research, your research, your heading must touch on human rights. And what are the things that it touches on? It will look at the protection of the right. It will look at the promotion of the right or the violation of the fundamental rights and freedom. It usually revolves around these 3. protection, promotion, and violation. And even when you look at your different dissertations, those of you who are doing their dissertations, generally when you're doing a human rights research, it usually revolves around these three areas. So it revolves around a human right, and it revolves around protection, promotion, or violation of that right. So why do we do human rights research? We do it to deepen our understanding. You'll find that you look at, for example, our constitution. You'll find that we have a very good constitution, and you'll find that there are different human rights that are protected under our constitution. But if that is all we have, is we just have the constitution and no one does research, then we are not able to evolve and even know what we need to do to enforce it. We will not identify what the gaps are. So as we do research, we are able to deepen our understanding of human rights. And it helps us also to generate knowledge and also to contribute to efforts to upholding human dignity and equality. Now, the best thing about human rights is human rights cut across different disciplines. You can look at human rights in business, you can look at human rights in health, you can look at human rights in political science. It cuts across very different areas, and I think that is the thing I enjoy most about human rights, is I can decide to do human rights in space. I can decide to do human rights in data protection. Even the new areas that are coming up, human rights still apply. And that's, I think, the most, at least to me, the most enjoyable thing about human rights. So in the presentation that I've sent, you'll see a variety of examples of human rights questions. You can look at those later on. Human rights questions that you can use include into your title, things that you can research. Now, what is an abstract? When I was looking at your essays, I don't think anyone drafted an abstract.
Is there anyone who drafted an abstract? Or even had a title?
Those one student with a title, I think.
Dexter. Dexter, you don't have a title? Yes, because Dexter had a title. The rest of you just started. You wrote and went with it.
There was absolutely no title. And there was no abstract. When you think of an abstract, I think, I don't know what comes to mind. When you think of an abstract, might anybody know what an abstract is, or even have a rough idea?
Unfortunately, they don't have your sample that you sent. They have this sample that you can always as part of the material.
Okay.
It was not printed.
Ooh, okay. An abstract, yes?
A summary of a longer piece of work in simple terms.
Yes, that is what an abstract is. And you'll find that abstracts are usually, when it comes to research and a research paper, abstracts are usually at the beginning of a research paper. And they're usually between 250 words to 300 words. And it is a summary of your work. But recently I had, there was a call for papers for a journal and a conference, and they were specifically asking for an abstract for 1,000 words. That was the first time. And I think the goal was to identify if you truly understood the subject, because I guess when something is a bit shorter, maybe, I don't know what the purpose was, but generally you'll find that most abstracts are between 250 to 300 words. But you can also, from the journal that I applied to, you can find that they can ask for an abstract of 1,000 words. But like this gentleman says, is that it is a summary of your work. Now there are two kinds of abstracts that you will engage with. You will have the abstract which you will generally put after you have finished your research. You have concluded your research, you're aware about the conclusions, you've done the methodology, you've analyzed, and so your summary will be a summary of the work that you have done. But then there are also abstracts for conferences and abstracts for papers, where they will ask you for, draft an abstract for 300 words on maybe the right to health. And if we like your abstract, then we will let you know that you can proceed and draft a paper, or we let you know and you can come and present your paper before in a conference. So there are two kinds. There's one where you've done the research, and there's one where you haven't even done the research. Like right now, you go online and you see that there's a journal that touches on women's rights. And maybe although you know what women's rights are, or you know what maybe disability rights are, you still haven't done the research. So when you're coming from a point of view where you're summarizing your work, like the essays which you did, it's a bit easier to draft your abstract because you have engaged with the material, you've done the research, and you understand what it is you're summarizing. Now, when you're drafting for a conference, or you're drafting an abstract for a journal paper, you're coming from a point of view where you have not done the research. Now, that kind of abstract will require you to do a little bit more digging, because you can't also just draft an abstract out of the blue. You have to be, unless you're drafting for your conference from work that you've already done or research that you have already done, then that makes it a bit easier. But when you're drafting an abstract from a conference, it can be a bit more challenging, and it will require you to understand the subject. And so before you draft that abstract, even if you're not very aware about maybe disability rights, then you have to do a little bit more digging so that you can be able to draft the abstract. So an abstract has to be summarized in a way that you elicit the interest of your readers. I need to be able to look at your abstract and have interest to want to read your work and have an understanding of what it is your research contains. It must be clear and it must be definite. So what is contained in an abstract? In those 300 words, number one, you must have the purpose, a statement explaining the purpose and objective of your research. You must explain number two, you must explain the methodology. For a lot of legal papers, the research will often be desktop research. You must explain, is it a comparative analysis that you're doing? What kind of research? Are you comparing Kenyan law with South African law? What methodology have you used? And then the abstract, in situations where you've already done the research, you also include the key findings of your research in those 300 words. You also have to explain the significance. Why is your research important? And then also abstracts also have keywords. So you're seeing like all these 5 elements need to be within your abstract, 300 words. So you have to like master the art of summary. Your purpose, sorry, yeah.
Before you continue to summarize that, you see even at the bottom when you're doing your abstract, there's the keywords that is there that summarize the keywords. And then she's also talked about the purpose. When you look at paragraph, the last paragraph, it talks about the paper advances an argument. You see? So you also do the same thing. So
Okay.
I'm talking about.
Oh, you're connecting it. Okay. So I have summarized just a general structure of the abstract, which you can use to help guide you as you're drafting your abstract. You can take everything, or you can take what is relevant to your situation. So number one generally begins with a sentence that states the current state of the things which you're researching on. What is going on? Are the Ogiek people marginalized? Do they have no access to health? So that's the beginning of your abstract. The second sentence of that paragraph may describe the problem with this, it might describe the problem further and maybe look at the worst case scenario of that problem, probably the second sentence. And then the third one can have what needs to be done about that situation within these 300 words that you're drafting. And then the fourth thing, the second paragraph can be your contribution. How would you do it differently? Do you have a theoretical lens? Is there something that you're contributing with regard to the topic that you're researching? And then the fourth thing is that you're identifying the importance or the significance of your research. So all this must be captured in your 300 words. I have sent you a summary of two abstracts, 2 papers. If you want to read the papers, you can read them later on. But I've sent for you 2 drafts of abstracts, and because of time, you might not have a chance to look at it, but you have the notes. And you will have a chance to look at it after, and you can always see me after in case you have any questions. Even before I sit down, do you have any questions about abstracts? Do you have any questions about titles? Any questions? Mm-hmm.
What is the difference between an abstract and an introduction per se?
Now, when you're talking about an introduction, when you're introducing the subject, you've seen like when we're talking about the abstract, the first sentence generally is how things are. And an introduction is generally how things are. You don't get into the worst, you don't break it down and start looking what could be the possible situation, what could be the possible contribution. So an introduction is not, is not for the whole paper. An abstract captures the whole paper within 300 words. So while part of the introduction will be part of maybe the first or 2 sentences of the abstract, they are different and distinct. Yeah. Do you understand? Or? Huh? Okay.
Doing a synopsis of a certain piece of work and doing an abstract of it, are they the same or different?
They're more or less the same, although I think a synopsis is more for maybe not a legal paper, but it's more or less a summary. Yeah, but not necessarily for a legal one. But it does more or less the same function as an abstract. Yeah.
Now, if they're doing a summary, is it going to have references?
I would, unless it is necessary, just avoid. You're just summarizing. Yeah.
Presentation, and from what I'm hearing, that when writing an abstract, it should always come after. I mean, you're done with the paper. So, like for instance, you've already completed what you are doing. So that then you should come back and write the abstract.
That's the ideal and one situation where the abstract is needed. But you see, there are situations where a conference will ask you for a paper. They'll say that we want you to contribute a paper on the right of indigenous people, touching on their health rights. As much as you're aware about indigenous people and you're aware about health rights, you've not done the research. And you'll be given maybe a month or so to submit an abstract. You've not done the research. You're not even sure they're going to accept your paper. Now, in that situation, that's why I said there are 2 situations where you draft the abstract. Now, from that point of view, you might not be able to give the conclusions of the research, but you might be able to point out to what is the situation in the case. What is the theoretical contribution or the lens with which you want to change? What could be the possible consequences if these changes don't happen? But in that situation, having the conclusion might not be realistic. But you see, there are 2 situations where there are abstract, but there are 2 kinds of abstracts. And you'll find that a lot of times the abstract you do to get into the conference or to be allowed to publish in a journal, it changes. Once they accept the abstract and they tell you can proceed, after you do the paper, there are a few changes that you might make to the abstract before you submit the official paper.
Second question. When writing the abstract, you have talked about mentioning the significance of the study. So, literally, there is also in a research proposal, in part whereby we are talking about significance of the study. And now here is the abstract, whereby we are including the significance. Should the abstract address the significance of the study at times, or should we just deal with in the content of the substantive argument addressing the issue?
And like this just goes back to the point where we are saying that an abstract is a summary of the paper. So it will be a summary of the significance. Yeah. So you won't put everything, but you'll put at least a general conclusion about the summary, about the significance of the study. And also, I've just forgotten, before I sit down, when you're, a lot of times students might not have access to peer-reviewed journals. So it can be a bit of a challenge when you're trying to do research. And the value of your research depends on the journals that you will reference. So there are a couple of sites which you can reference if you can't have access to. There are certain journals if you don't have access or the university does not provide you that kind of access, you cannot access the papers. So certain places you can go to, for example, is Google Scholars. You can find a lot of academic papers there. From academia, and then from SSRN.
Right now from this workshop, upload them on SSRN, academia. I did that when I was applying for my Commonwealth, and I put in my application that I've uploaded and published on SSRN, and academia as well, especially academia.
And in fact, like my final advice to you is that if you see, for example, if you see a call for papers by a journal, don't wait until the last minute to draft. You cannot put effective summary of what you want to research on if you've not done research. So before you even find, if you don't know the gaps, where are you going to begin? If there's a topic that you see that you have interest in, but you're not aware of the current position of that topic, the legal position, do your research. Download a couple of papers, do your research, and then draft your abstract from the research that you have done. Do not go in blindly. Yeah, I think that is my final advice. Any questions? I think we will end there, and I think I will leave the floor for Faith. Oh, sorry.
I hope you've downloaded Canva. Have you downloaded Canva app?
Okay, let's put our hands together. Okay, let's put our hands together for Dr. Shali for the nice presentation. And because of time, let me welcome Damaris Goretti for the plenary session. Just come and take around 5 minutes, and I'll welcome the next speaker. Thank you.
Okay, so good evening once again. As we have had the first session with Dr. Shali, I know currently now everyone is able to write an abstract because she has been able to guide us on how we'll be doing. So what I'm going to talk about, it's about the mentorship program, which is going to take which is going to take place next month. It's going to be held at the 15th March 2024. All of you are invited, and I'm going to briefly talk about the mentorship program. So basically everyone knows that a mentor is someone who is there to guide you, maybe to be able to help you, maybe in professionally or in the society. And I'm sure like each and every person here, you have a mentor. So the mentorship program, which is going to take part next month, it's going to help us be able to get mentorship from African health law researchers and practitioners who are going to be able to come here to be able to guide us and to mentor us in how we are going to be experts in the health law, and also how we can be able to get job opportunities abroad in various categories of health law. So All of you are invited, and please make a date in your calendar. The session is going to happen at 15th March. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Damaris. Let me take this opportunity and invite Dr. Faith Simiyu. And because of time, I won't go over her entire profile because it's extremely long. So I think I'll just talk about her education background. So apparently she did her undergraduate degree in education at Kenyatta University. I think it was her first degree. She decided on, oh, okay. So, okay. I was thinking that you decided to follow the US system. Okay, so she did her undergraduate degree in KU on education arts, and her law degree in the University of Nairobi, obviously because it was the only university offering law by then. She did her LLM in the University of Rotterdam in Netherlands, and she is currently doing her PhD in the University of Cardiff. She tried applying in the University of Dar es Salaam, but something went wrong. But we are glad that she is in a better place in the University of Cardiff. And by the way, she loves swimming. So after this, please go home thinking of Ms. Faith Simiyu in a pool. So let me welcome Dr. Faith Simiyu so that we may engage with her. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you, Owen.
Give me my phone.
Thank you, Owen, for the introduction. I don't want to take much of the time. In fact, I will shorten my presentation because we are running seriously out of time. Yes, I did my undergrad in KU and Nairobi. It's because when I was in Nairobi, I got criminal law paper in first year. The highest had 12 out of 30. Mwingine mbele yetu alikuwa amepata tukachekelea yeye. Yangu ikakuja ikakuwa 6 out of 30. Nikasema hii law, I will not get second upper, I might fail. Let me go do what they had called me in JAB in education. So I went to KU because my father told me, kikiumana kwa law, utakuwa mwalimu. But sure enough, I became a mwalimu in law. But that's why I did them. When KU was closed, I was in Nairobi. When Nairobi was closed, I was in KU. But somehow I managed. And that also put me competitively because when I started teaching, I started at Daystar Law School. And by then, I was very young. And so I said, you know, I'm a trained teacher from KU with an education degree. So I am more competitive than these lawyers who are 10 years. And I got the job because of that degree. So it helped me see the doors of teaching, but I haven't used that education degree now. I've been now focused on law. So that's it. Thank you for that introduction, Owen. But for me, I'm just going to cover what Shirley has done and then go through what you actually need to do as well as Canva. Hopefully, please give me at least 40 minutes to be done. And then we can be able to wrap up, all right? So Kabugi, we can begin with the video. And the video is going to be talking about what you were supposed to have done in the essay, and I'll present after that, okay? And part of the reason why I'm using a video is because you're also going to be doing a 1-minute video. Please go ahead. Please add volume and press play.
Human and People's Rights in Tanzania has made a landmark ruling today to allow an indigenous Kenyan tribe as Oge to return to their ancestral land. The group was evicted from the Mau forest by the Kenyan government amid claims that they were harboring it. The court dismissed this, saying the government authorities failed to demonstrate their case. Ahead of the ruling, the BBC's David Wafula traveled to Mount Forest to meet members of the Ogier community.
The government wants to throw out so that anyone where they will plant tea and make a lot of money in disregard of the rights of the Ogier community, who are the Africans in this case and who are claiming this land to be their ancestral home. They have been there since time immemorial, and they cannot go anywhere. They don't have any other home.
Really feel very bad. Sometimes I feel like dying with that person who says that this is not my life.
Kliniki ndio tunataka, kwa sababu watoto wakishikwa na ugonjwa, hata wamama akiwa na mzigo, hakuna mahali tunaenda, kwa sababu ni mwenda sana kwenda mpaka huko. Mtu kama hivyo na mzigo alafu inaumia, wanashika tu na miti kwa kubeba kupeleka mpaka kwa sokoni, sababu ni mbali, hakuna usaidizi ile iko karibu.
You are supported small human thing that you call them basic human rights to
Thank you very much, Kabugi, for that. Perhaps you can put on the slides, please. Before I continue, perhaps you can let me know what is the key thing that struck you, Dexter, in the video? Yes, land. Eviction from the land, all right. Brian?
Also for me the same, but also how their rights are being infringed.
You've brought in a new point, rights. What about this side, Michelle?
Realize that, recognize that there are no clinics around at all, and anything to do with public facilities, schools, the dispensaries, where they can get water, these boreholes, they are not there.
They're not there.
Yeah.
All right. Onchiri, you had your hand up?
I also noticed the lack of proper health care facilities for the Ogier community.
Okay.
And specific focus on the lady who said that women expectant women who get into labor have to use crude ways to deliver because the healthcare facilities are bad.
Exactly. Correct? Yes, Stephen?
I also noticed that since there is a belief that they are meant to be a minorities, so they have no rights of their own, which is contrary to what should be happening.
Absolutely. And you all have summarized the reason why my presentation. We begin with Steve. He's talking about minorities' right. Kabugi can put for us the slide presentation. The next slide, please. And you'll see where it all fits in. My topic is about the OGIEC. And your assignment is going, and you've already noticed when I've put in the course description, is about publishing, disseminating research in the digital world on African indigenous health rights advocacy, all right? And Stephen has correctly pointed out minority status. Then Dexter and Brian, they've pointed out about eviction and about their rights are infringed. What I'm trying to show you is that the reason why we are focusing on health and human rights of indigenous people is because they are characterized by eviction. The OGIEC have always been evicted from their land since colonial rule. In fact, the colonial government, the British colonial government, called them savages, barbaric, who did not deserve to have any tribal status, all right? And because of that, they pushed them from the Mau forest. And at independence, we thought that, the Kenyatta regime and the Odinga will come and unite the country, but the OGIEC were left behind. Haven't you been seeing OGIEC being forcefully evicted in the forests? You've been seeing in the news, and that is also part of what I'm researching on in my PhD. I'm talking about the indigenous OGIEC. You've seen even, some of you have already pointed out there are no facilities because they're being pushed. Their lands are not being developed and the clinics are not there. And as Onchiri has said, even the minority women. So I've given you that video because you're going to be doing advocacy on health and human rights from an indigenous perspective, all right? And you're going to be, and Dr. Shali has talked about you doing an abstract. I already mentioned you're going to do a poster, you're going to be doing a video. I won't go too much into my presentation, but perhaps by just summarizing by saying that health is a complete state of physical and mental well-being, and you'll see in my presentation, okay? Some of you got it right in your essay. You defined what is health, and that is the first thing you should have done. You start by saying what is health, and you've defined it. At the same time, you're supposed to also talk about OGIEC case. You've seen in the video, they've gone to the African Court of Human Rights. They're arguing we are indigenous. We stay in ancestral land in the Mau forest and we are evicted. That's who indigenous peoples are, all right? So in your essay, you're supposed to have talked about health, and then the way Charlie has said, you connect it to international conventions on human rights, and then you say, how does it apply to Kenya in the constitution we adopt? Is it a monist or dualist? Monist approach, all right? And you see in the video, and the slide is being shown by Kabugi. You can pause there. That is what they went to say in the OGIEC. They were evicted from their land because they are indigenous people, as Stephen has said, and then it has violated, as Brian has said, violated their human rights, all right? But we are not focusing just on human rights. We are pushing the envelope and looking at their right to health. All right? And so in that video, you've seen they talk about facilities and clinics. But if you have done your research even more, that's why one of us, she's called Amina, and I'm going to share her paper. She went further ahead and tied it to the physical health. Because when you're talking about physical health, did you see the tractors coming around? Did you see the women sitting looking depressed? What does that tell you about mental health? What is mental health? Emotional well-being. Did you see the children walking around and carrying and almost shouting, "Mama, Mama"? Did you hear that? All right. So when you see they're indigenous because they are attached to the land, then they are forcefully evicted. You imagine if you're being evicted from your land, na uko na watoto, utasikiaje? Utasikia mbaya. Huzuni itakuja, so that means it has affected their mental health, all right? Then it has also affected their physical, because now the OGIEC depend on the land for food, so they don't have food to eat, all right? So what I wanted you to say in the essay, you were to discuss indigenous people, you are to discuss what is human rights generally, then focus on right to health, which you've already talked about, physical and mental health. Then you tied to the OGIEC by saying when they were evicted from their land, their physical health was they were traumatized in terms of mental they were stressed, and they depend on the land. Like you see, like one of the person in the video was saying, we feel like they're nobody else. They feel like they're not people. When they deny us our land, they think we are not any people who exist, all right? So to summarize, that's what you are supposed to have done in your essay, and that is my presentation, because now we move to the next thing that you're not supposed to do. When you look at the overall workshop, you are supposed to now create, disseminate, and publish research for advocacy on health and human rights from an indigenous perspective. And you can see that is this is what we've said on 5th February. The program of activity is to create, disseminate, design, and publish a poster and video for advocacy on health and human rights, all right? And that's, I'm almost finishing my presentation, creating. So for you, I already told you you're going to create an abstract, which Dr. Shirley has already pointed out and has already presented to you. You have a title. And remember, Shirley is going to be one of the judges. She's written so many articles for the Standard newsletter. She was an employee there. She's also in the Media Council. She's also in the Kenya Council of Reporting. And that's why she's saying what you write in a journal is different from an opinion. So whatever you're going to be writing in your abstract, you are thinking about it as if you're writing for the newsletter that you're going to be having in November. Because that newsletter, I'm going to be going back to Cardiff, and I'll go with samples and say this is what JKUAT students, the research associates of 2024 and 2023 had done. So you come up creatively. She talked about the title. She gave you examples of the title, which is catchy. Did you have a title in your essay? Did you have a title? All right. So even when you're with the deadline we've talked about, when you're writing the abstract, come up with the title. That's why you see on 15th of February I've said, come up with a title. Then come up with an abstract. And what is that abstract? It's a summary. You see how many minutes have I taken to talk to you about the Ogiek? Not more than, have I taken 5 minutes? That video was 5 minutes, but you can summarize my talk in 1 minute, all right? So you're going to write an abstract, and from that abstract, Shirley has said, you talk about the title, you talk about the arguments, what arguments are you proposing? Is it, and she said in human rights, the arguments are either for promotion of health rights, or for protection, or for violation. So will you focus on violation? Brian talked about violation of the rights. So you're writing an abstract, then you're doing, in that abstract, have a title, and then talk about your arguments that you're going to be bringing. And beyond that, bring me a video, all right? And the reason why we're saying that is because advocacy is campaigning. And Africa Health Law does a lot of advocacy. And when you campaign, you call people towards your cause. You reflect what is happening in the community. I am very passionate about the Ogiek. In fact, I went to the Mau Forest for almost 1 month. I sat down with them, did field work. Wakona nyangalia, wanashangaa. Huyu ni kasichana kanakuja kutusaidia ama kanakuja kutupatia pesa, all right? So I went and did field work with them, all right? Then I posted this on Instagram just the other day, today morning. I retweeted and I said this. Then one of the interviewees who was in the Ogiek case who had interviewed told me that she had passed away 2 days ago from cancer. So you can see the reality. When I was talking to her, she was crying how she's being evicted, how it's affecting their health, and now she has passed on, and the case is still going on in the African court because they went and they started in, you remember the process of litigation? We start with the lower courts, they went to the magistrates, went to the high court, they were still being evicted. They thought that they would go to the African court and their rights, not just all the other rights of being forcefully evicted would be stopped, but it was not. The same way Martha Karua, mwana ameenda wapi? East African Court, anafikiria itawasaidia. Do you think the government will listen? Probably not, all right? That's why even for you, the assignment is for you to write an abstract and a catchy title, and you're going to be writing arguments. But remember, Shirley said when you're writing for the journal, it's different. I don't want you to write as if you're writing for a journal. I've given you my Advocates magazine paper, because I wrote about health rights. When you look in the paragraph, the first paragraph, I said, health and human rights are flip sides of the same coin. Don't you feel like I've hooked you up with that statement, all right? And then I've said, including sexual, all right? Then
I concluded by saying there's a quagmire for adolescent youths, a debate that needs to be reignited. So even for me, I was advocating for sexual reproductive health and rights. But you guys are advocating for indigenous health rights, all right? So that's what I need you to do for the abstract. Then I'm almost finishing. The last thing that we need to look at is in terms of you're doing an abstract, then you'll do a poster. You had asked me, what do you mean by a poster? The poster that you're going to do, perhaps you'll take it and you're going to do a sample right now from your abstract or from your essay. What one sentence can you give me, Brian and Onchiri? Can you give me one quote from your essay that you can put on Instagram? Is there one quote, or anybody who can do it quickly? Any quote from your essay that you think it's worth, if I'm presenting an opinion piece, I'll say, Brian said this, A, B, C, D, therefore. Is there one quote? Yes, Alvin.
Human rights are African rights, not an imposition or plot by the industrialized West.
Is that your own words or you copied somewhere?
I quoted Kofi Annan.
Okay, yes, you see, that's also one of them. So you, but now I would want you to relate it to health. Apart from human rights, make sure, even if you're mentioning human rights, relate it to health. That's the assignment I want you to do. Because the problem with health rights, they have not been extensively litigated in Africa. And even if you go, I can count the number of cases in Africa that have been done for, that's why we're having Africa Health Law, and you're one of the pioneers. So I agree with you. Human rights, you can also put a Kofi Annan, and then add your own statement there, and then say, adapted from Kofi Annan. You can just put your name, adapted from, and then you say it's you who has said that, all right? So, and that is the first poster that you will do, and you can see even from these examples, I don't know if you have the social media advocacy, whatever, from these examples you can see this lady has put, they had not done an essay, but they put the same quote that you do. So you will come up with the abstract, with a catchy title. You can even use your title as the quote, all right? You can use your title as the quote and add another poster that explains, all right? So that's what you need to do. Then video. You see right now I'm very passionate, I'm talking about it. Can you summarize your argument in 1 minute video? Why we're doing that? Because we are advocacy. Remember, advocacy is campaigning for a cause. We are campaigning for indigenous rights to health in Africa. Why? Because these Ogieks have been forcefully evicted from their land since colonial rule. Up to now, simkoma unaangalia kwa TV wanakaa tu woye. Ama walikuwa nakaa Wasonko, walikuwa nakaa woye. Sasa unaona, hata wazungu wakiwaona wanasema hawa ni barbaric, they are savages, wanakaa kwa forest. Why should we respect their rights? And that's what is happening, and that's why they went to the African court, all right? So I think I have finished in terms of my presentation, where you will do advocacy, read my assignment, and once you do that, I have given you days where you'll be posting. Call all your friends. Let's have so much engagement, and we're going to be awarding you sometime, I've said in August, where the post with the most engagement in terms of likes, retweet, whatever, will get an award for that. And obviously you'll be in the running into being in the newsletter, because we are producing a newsletter like this one for Africa Health Law. Kabugi is the one who's going to be designing for us, and he's already here. He's a graphic designer. He did for us the logo for company for Soklo. He's the one who did our logo when we were hustling and starting with just 3 of us. Hata yeye mwenyewe alikuwa anaanza. Kwa hivyo msimuone tu hivyo, tumetoka na yeye tangu 2014, all right? So even him, when you're doing that, the reason why I want you to do those posts is because I want to, when you're doing the newsletter, I'm trying to see, should I post your video, should I post your abstract, or should I do a poster? I will decide amongst that when you're doing the newsletter, all right? Apart from you guys, there are those of 2023 who will also be part of the newsletter, and those of us who are coming later, all right? Any other question you have? I know I have rushed. Yes, Dexter, you have a question? Oh, yes, it's on Canva. In fact, you're going to be logging in on Canva right now. I've already given a folder with all the logos for Africa Health Law and the template. And when you're doing the quote, musitumia hii yellow. Africa Health Law, we are sticking to green. Kabugi, see green tutafanya paka newsletter. So we are sticking to this color. You see the green one? You see this color, and even when you see on the whatever, and you see inafanana na JKUAT, because we are part of JKUAT, all right? So make sure it's this color. the theme is this color, and it's already been uploaded on Canva. So with that, is there any other question, or we can go to the final session of today where you'll do the post, a draft post, and you'll send it to me? Okay, so we can move to Canva. Before I conclude my presentation, we can open, have you been able to have you opened your own Canva, or would you like to log into Africa Health Law Canva? You already have Canva? Michelle, you have? All right. So go to the how to train, and when you have questions on Canva, you can always ask Owen. He is an expert. He's a graphic designer, in the budding graphic designer, but I'm pushing him to make it have a purpose in advocacy for health and human rights. All right. So in Canva, when you look at Canva, if you're using your mobile phone, you can search for content. All right. Go into the search area. There's at the top place where you write search. Then you can write Instagram post. Instagram. You can see Instagram post. Have you been able to see? There's Instagram post portrait, Instagram post square. You've seen it? When you say portrait, if you're doing, portrait means Instagram stories. When you search there at the start, yes, there. Search at the search there, Instagram post. Have you seen? Instagram. Have you typed in Instagram? Yeah. Yeah. So when they say portrait, that means you're taking it like this. Kabugi, you can pause the video. We don't need to show this one unless you want to, but you can continue. Just leave it. Instagram portrait, it means this IG stories, like stories. But we want you to do Instagram post. All right, not story, because this Instagram post can be used on LinkedIn and Twitter. So you click Instagram post, square, not portrait. Portrait is Instagram story. So square, let's click on it. Then it will bring you various samples. You've seen various samples? Okay. Can you get one which looks like you can put a quotation there and your picture? Even a black, you can take a black one even. You try and open it, all right? Then I am sure you have pictures in your mobile phone, right, of yourself. So can you see a picture on that post? Like, for example, mine is this one just come up. Has yours come square? Make sure you do it on square. Then click on the picture. Then click on the picture. It will give you an option of replacing the image or deleting it. Have you seen? You can give you an option of detach image from photo, then you detach it. Has it given you? Let's use Android. Maybe iPhone is different. Here, click on the picture. We'll give you time to click. Have you been able to click on the picture images? Have you managed to click? Okay. Have you managed to click on the picture? Has it given you any option? Delete, yes, you can delete the picture or detach it. Detach image from picture, detach image. I'll show you. Detach image. Have you managed to detach it? You can help Shirley. If you're having problems, Owen knows, he can show you. Have you managed to detach the picture? Okay, even if you have not managed, can you click add image? There's a place it gives you option of adding image more. Have you seen add image? Yes. Have you seen add image somewhere? Okay, let's see. Not deleting it. There's a way it allows you to add image. Have you seen the option of adding image? Add image. Michelle, you've done it? Has anyone found the option of adding image? After you've deleted the image, then there's an icon. Where is this icon? Unfortunately, I'm using iPhone. Yeah, on your bottom screen, there's a plus. Have you seen plus? Have you seen plus? At the bottom left corner, plus. When you click it, then it gives you, go to gallery, this your camera? This is your camera. When you go to gallery, it will show you options of pictures, your own pictures in your phone. Have you managed? Yeah. Michelle? Alvin, are you stuck or you're almost there? I'm there. You've gotten a picture of yourself? Click it and add it there. So I'm going to use you because mine is iPhone, it may be different. Yeah, take any images of yourself. Have you found an image of yourself? Has it gotten added into the whatever? Added into the thing that is there? Then when it has been added, change that wording into your own quotation and then write your name. Change the wording, whatever is there as a quote, add your own quote. Remember, the quote that you're going to do is 5 to 6 words. At most, unless it doesn't, you can put as many words so long as it doesn't overspill and become too busy. Okay, Michelle, have you managed to edit the quotation?
Edit this one.
Oh.
I delete this one.
You can write, you don't delete, just double click on it, and then you can start editing. You see, you double click on the quote and you can start editing it. Double click on the quote and you can start editing it. Brian, are you anywhere? Adding the words. You've known how to do it. If you've deleted it, you can go to there's an option of adding text. There's a place which is written text. There's an option of adding text. Because I want you to send me, you'll send it to me on the WhatsApp group that I've created. You'll download it and send it to me, no matter how rough it looks, because that's how we did it with these other students. Do you need my help, or you okay? All right. Janet, umepotea? Farao atakusaidia. Alvin, ama nani anaweza kusaidia Janet? Steven, umeweza? So umeka quote hapo, all right? Then you can make it lower. You can make it even smaller. If you want to make it smaller, then you move it then you can move it like this if you want. And then here you write your name. Yeah. Dexter, you okay? You've done Canva before, so you know. It's so hard on the phone. Okay. Yes, I prefer the laptop as well. Yeah. If you can be able to use something else, sour, but you stick to the theme, the green theme. You can log into Canva then, but so long as you stick to the green theme. Yeah, you can use any other if you feel Canva ni ngumu, so long as you stick to the theme and create a good poster. That's why I want you to give me this feedback, that poster by 8th of March, ili ni comment. 15th of March, ni comment niwasaidie. Steve, umefikaje? And then if you want to change color, you see here, you see hiyo white itakuwa haionekani. Unaona hapa? Like you see, this is the color. You can decide which color you want for that one. I don't know how you see it changes. Yeah. Yes, you can continue, do the final closing. As you continue with that, so long as you send it to me by the end of today. Si lazima unisendie sahi. And this all samples are in your folder. You can see how they did theirs, and they put a quotation mark. They did all of this on Canva, all right? So with those many remarks, let me just conclude by saying your work is to create those abstracts with the title, then a poster that gives a catchy quote from that, your paper, as well as a 1-minute video according to how we have done. I've shown you the case of the Ogiek, how it was presented, all right? And in doing so, you will all have 1 week, meaning that the first 1 week to engage in advocacy where you're campaigning over your post and making it known about the Ogiek. And when you're doing that, you're engaging in advocacy. Advocacy, there are 2 forms of advocacy, and campaign is one of them. where you speak publicly and then you lobby people to change it. And that's what you're going to be doing. And when you're doing that, when you're posting, and I'm going to give you more details, you tag, make sure you tag WHO, you tag African Court of Human and People's Rights, tag those big people. You never know. I was told even if there's a person who had only 100 followers, then just Oprah saw that post and and she decided to fund that organization. So it doesn't matter how many people, but even if you're very small, it will help. And the reason why I'm also encouraging you, I was asking about your profile, whether you're on LinkedIn or whichever those Twitter, is because when I joined my PhD, and my supervisor is called Professor John Harrington, he's known for global health. He worked in Kenya for 3 years. He told me, Faith, you cannot afford not to be on Twitter or Instagram. They are very big on those channels because when you do it, you tag Africa Health Law, you tag Minorities Rights International. So research those big organizations that you can tag to your post, even if they don't comment, but you never know one day. And so you will have 1 week. The first day I will post introducing you based on the bios that you have given. The second day I will let you post either your poster or your video. Then the third day you post either the poster or the video or the abstract. It's really, so long as you have 3 posts for that week, all right? And you're going to do it, every person is going to do that. Mkitaka mnaweza kuita warafiki zako wa like, wa share, and whoever gets the most will get an award for that accordingly, all right? That's all I have. You can continue working on that. Let's give Steve to do that, and then we're going to be finalizing the session. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention in that. Yeah.
Okay, good evening once again. I'm really humbled and I'm pleased seeing you here with us today. And as Madam Faith has just said, we need to, can you hear me? Oh, okay, thank you. As she has just said, as Africa Health Law, one of the things which we normally do is to advocate. And if we do advocacy, it is based on matters related to health and human rights. So as observers in capacity, as I'm really proud to see you here, and I know that you will be able also in a position to advocate for health and human rights, isn't it? Tuko pamoja? Mbona sisikii wengine wakisema yes, tuko pamoja? Yes. I'm happy to hear that yes. And maybe to add on something, since the time is running, I'll be able to note about next event, apart from the one for mentorship, which will be held on 15th of March next month, 2024. We'll be also having an advocacy training at the Soklo Chambers, Milimani, where we'll be taught more on how to do legal drafting in matters because legal creation. I hope you have been able to hear what I've just said. Maybe to point out one of my observers, yes, Isaac. I hope you have been able to hear what I've just said, isn't it? Oh, okay, thank you. So that event will take place on 26th of April. 26th of April, 2024. And I hope to see you once again there. And I think I have no other concerns to say, just to wish you a very good day, and I'm grateful to see you. Thank you very much.
Okay, good evening once more. I wish, and it was my wish ever since we started, that we could have enough time. I also needed enough time to introduce the speakers because they have a lot of fascinating things about them. And let me give you guys a challenge. Please go online and try researching about our lecturers and our speakers today, and you'll be fascinated on the great achievements they've had. Let me take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this event. It has been a great event, a great pleasure to us also for being invited to such a great opportunity to interact and also learn more. And I would also like to thank our organizer because she's gone through hell to ensure that this has come to pass, like her PhD and all the work that she has gone through, and sleepless nights and the posting, everything. We'd just like to thank her for all of that, and it's a great pleasure to us to engage with you guys and to also learn. Thank you so much, and God bless JKUAT, and God bless our and also the videographer. And also thank you to the videographer for accepting Dr. Faith's invite to come and record this great session, because I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime session, and we need to have record of such. Thank you so much, and may God bless you. Thank you.
If you want his services, I'm sure he'll give you your cards.
Yeah. And also, before I sit down, we'll form a group, a WhatsApp group, that will send a soft copy of the feedback form that you guys will have to fill and submit them before tomorrow, I think.
Oh, before tomorrow, can they do it?
I think it's it's a normal form, like.
It will help
Yeah.
us improve.
Yeah.
We've improved this year because of the feedback from last year.
Yeah, so please, we'll send there's a list going around. Please just write your name and your contact information so that we may include you in the group. And
Where we'll also share the photos.
yeah, and we'll also share everything, and also take time and fill the form.
And for those of us who are planning to be there for next year, if you're interested in future, for the next session on career, where we'll have speakers from Belgium and law firms from Kenya, please fill in, and then we're adding that WhatsApp group. You never know what we will do with you also in future as well, because we are also recruiting for next year as well.
Okay.
So fill in, and Owen will be in charge of that. He's also open the WhatsApp.
Okay, thank you very much for attending this session, and may God bless you. Thank you.
Please remain for the last photo session.